One state says that landlords are charging too many fees and wants to ban landlords from charging rental application fees. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, so I have an interesting article for you today. It's coming out of the state of New Hampshire. So, as you know, New Hampshire is on the East Coast, is in an area that is very anti-landlord, and it doesn't surprise me that these sort of laws are being proposed out there. So they say that landlords are charging too many fees for too many different items, and they want landlords to have to justify the fees that they're charging, including the rental application fee, because they think that tenants are getting gouged. They think that landlords are using all these application fees basically to pad their bottom line and hurt tenants who they have no intention of renting to. And that just isn't the case, okay? The problem I have with these laws is there's unintended consequences. Always there's going to be unintended consequences. They're going to make it so that landlords are going to have to do a whole bunch of work and not be compensated for it. And it's going to make our business more difficult. And when our business is more difficult, we're not able to charge the fees like that, right? Then we have to, in order to make up for those losses, increase our rents. Okay, so people are going to be like, why is housing even less affordable than it was before? Because landlords are padding, those additional costs into the monthly rent that they're charging. That's why. So now, instead of charging those fees, you're going to get higher rent. See, you can't solve the problem. The whole reason that landlords put those fees in place was to solve issues, okay? Like, when you have a bunch of tenants who are just throwing dozens and dozens of applications out there for tons of places where they have no intention of living, and then you're sitting here, you're screening this tenant, you're spending your time and your money screening a tenant, only to find out the tenant never wanted to even live in your place, but just was, using the shotgun method in order to get a place to live. No, we want to make sure that the people applying for our units are serious. And we want to make sure that the tenants, right, a lot of the fees that we charge are things that, they encourage good behavior by the tenants. For example, late fees. So we charge a late fee so that we tell the tenant, hey, don't pay your rent late or you're going to get hit with this fee or with these fees, okay? Or we charge a pet fee because, the pet does extra damage to the property, and we want to make sure that, hey, we are being compensated for the additional cost and burden that we're going to have to deal with when we're dealing with these animals. So, there's good reasons to be charging these fees. So before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like, subscribe button, maybe leave a comment down below, and let me know what you think. So, question to the landlords out there: do you charge any fees out there that some people would consider to be unusual? I know that there are some landlords who are charging like a trash collection fee and all sorts of little fees that are different, unusual. And I'm just kind of curious what kind of fees you charge as a landlord. Anyway, let's get into this article and see what it says. This article is coming from Fosters.com, the Foster's Daily Democrat, and it says, New Hampshire is still an expensive rental market. A new law aims to prevent extra fees from adding up. Let's see what the article says. As rent prices continue to climb in New Hampshire, a new law aims to cut down on the extra costs for background checks, application fees, and more that are making things even more expensive for prospective tenants. The new law requires landlords to provide justification for any fees they charge beyond the price of rent and a security deposit. And it requires landlords to return any excess costs without documentation back to the tenant. See, and that is something right there. Okay, they're like, okay, if you're going to charge a $50 application fee, right? And your background investigation for tenant screening only costs $40. Well, you need to return the additional $10. Like, see what I mean? You create a paperwork burden for the landlords. You create a documentation burden, and basically, government, when they make rules, when they make regulations, they make things harder. They make things longer, harder, and more expensive. And we pass those costs on to the tenants. So if we have to jump through all these additional hoops, we have to be compensated for it. Otherwise, it's not worth doing. That's why I say we're going to raise the rents. The rents are going to go up due to these laws. And if they don't understand that, they're living in fantasy world. Now, I don't know if New Hampshire has rent control laws, but if they don't, expect rents to go up as soon as they pass this sort of law. The policy aims to address what's become a familiar situation to many renters. You apply for one apartment, get charged $50 for an application fee, and don't get approved. You apply for another, fork over another $50 for the application fee, and even more for a background check. In the state's competitive rental market, those costs can quickly add up. When drafting the bill, State Representative Ellen Reed said she learned that just searching for an apartment could cost people hundreds of dollars, especially if they apply to multiple rentals. Reed, a Democrat representing Newmarket and Newfields, said she also heard of people being asked to pay fees for each adult applying to live in an apartment. Yeah, I do background checks on every single adult that lives inside one of my units. So, if every background check I do costs $40 per person, guess what? I need to charge a fee to every single person who's going to be on that lease. So don't be surprised. Now, obviously she has no clue whatsoever anything about what landlords are doing, but this is a typical moron, okay? Typical moron who is a politician trying to do something without actually talking to a landlord. Why is it that politicians they just pull these rules, these laws out of their butts, okay? They don't go talk to the number one stakeholder, the landlord. Like, why? That's all you have to ask. Why are you charging these fees? Just go up to a landlord and ask them, right? And the landlord will tell you the truth. You don't have to speculate. You don't have to guess, well, the landlord's just a greedy son of a gun, and you know what? They need to be put into check. No, they will tell you the truth. Okay? It's as bad as the stupid wannabe president of the United States talking about grocery stores are price gouging when they're getting a 1 or 2% rate of return. Okay? They're not price gouging. Landlords aren't price gouging either. And I'm so sick of this nonsense. Okay? That's what this really comes down to. They want to control how much you charge for rent. They want to charge the fees that you could charge. They want to decide who you can rent your units to. They want to decide how long that person stays, and you have zero control, but you got to pay all the bills. That's what they want. That is what I am fighting against every single day. That's what I'm talking about every single day. Because when it comes down to laws like this, all this is a precursor to rent control. All this is a precursor to the government takeover of private housing. And I'm sick of it. I'm absolutely sick of it. And I keep reading about it in more and more places. We want to make sure they can't charge any fees. These people agreed to pay those fees when they signed their lease. If they don't want to pay the fees, don't sign the lease. If you're mad that you have to go apply and pay people to apply to live in housing, well, you know what? Too bad. That's the game, okay? Did you know that every time that you go out there and you want to get a credit check, right? Like, I've gotten so many loans before. I have to pay for the credit checks that I'm, to get the loan. I get charged for it every single time. Oh my God, the lender is charging you a fee. Yeah, because I get a benefit out of it. Even if I don't get the loan, I still have to pay for that credit check. So here's the thing, right? I'm confident most of the time when I go up and apply for the loans that I'm going to get it, because I have a good credit score. I have, lots of money in the bank, as collateral. And most of the time when I apply for loans, it's not for something that I can't afford. So I'm not worried about paying that money because I know that it will pay off in the long run. And that's the way these tenants have to look at it when it comes to applying for housing. They have to look at it as, okay, yes, these fees, it's going to cost me, right? But the benefit for me in the long run is that I get somewhere to live. So since I am benefiting from it, paying this fee up front, that will just be considered the cost of doing business, the cost of me finding a place to live. That's the way it should be looked at, not as, oh, I want the government to step in and punish these landlords for simply trying to run their businesses. Dumb. Absolutely dumb. And then, let me get back to this article. It prevents the kind of the shadier landlords creating a whole new revenue stream out of just putting ads up and raking in the applications of desperate people, she said. I want, tell me one real world example of this. One. Just give me one. Oh, Bob Jenkins down the street. This is exactly what he does. No. Do you have any? Or is this some kind of anecdotal story about some boogeyman that you just made up in your head? Okay, you're gaslighting people. You're lying to people, saying that that's what we're going to do, and nobody's doing that. The grand majority of landlords are using those fees for the cost that they incur. Period. Okay? When I get, like you're talking about application fees, like I said, it is not free for me to go through and read through a whole bunch of applications and call employers and verify, your income and all this stuff. It takes my time, and I deserve to be compensated for my time, period. I am on a rant. Anyway, if you're interested in what this article has to say, put a comment in the comment section down below.